What's going on, y'all? I'm back with another quick clip of Welcome to the Franchise here. Just want to go ahead and tap in a little bit about the NFL. A little bit more about just a little preview of what might happen, what be coming up with the NFL draft all season and everything. I think in a few weeks we got free agency coming up, combines coming up. Of course, in between then, you also got pro days coming up, and then the draft, and all type of shit that's gonna be going on throughout the summer or at the start of the off season. Now that the Super Bowl's over and rolling into getting ready for the next season, so I just want to tap into that real quick and just talk a little bit about some draft fits that I feel like make the most sense, but probably won't happen or might not happen and everything. But you never know. I mean, shit gets crazy after people had their pro days, free agency happens, some crazy type of trades or signings happen, and shit, it might turn out like that. I'm gonna start off first with the two quarterback prospects. Of course, when it comes to the all seasons, and especially when it comes to the draft, everybody's quarterback crazy. It's all about the quarterbacks. You got to get a quarterback who's at the top. Everyone wants a quarterback all the time. Everybody's fucking quarterback crazy all the time, right? So I'm gonna start off with the two prospects in Ken Ward and Shadeur Sanders. To be honest, I'm hearing a lot of people. Some people think Shadeur is better. Some people think that Ken Ward is better. To be honest, I think they're really neck and neck. For real, they're both good prospects. I just give a little bit of the slight edge to Kim because of the different arm angles in his game that he provides in the passing game, and he's just a bit more of a natural when it comes to his mobility with running the ball from the pocket position and everything like that. But both of them are good prospects. Also, there's a lot of hate out there. There's been hate on Shadeur, for the last 2-3 years now, all the fucking time. Whatever that's about. I mean, we kind of understand and have an idea what that's about and shit, but I'm not gonna get too much into that right now. And then I do hear a little bit of hate out there for Cam Ward also. I think it's because of his grind. It doesn't sound similar or familiar to other blue chip prospects and everything like that were, kind of, media groomed to be looked at as a top 5 or a top 3 prospect. They started off and they were recruited heavily out of high school and went to, they were recruited by all the big programs and stuff. His grind is a little bit more different than everybody else's, let's say compared to like a Caleb Williams or some shit like that, where, Lincoln Riley, the best whatever QB coach in the country, sought after you from high school and then took you with them to the next school he went to, which is another big name school. With Ken Ward, he grinded hard. He started at Incarnate Ward. And he grew his game and he was doing some things there, and then he went to Washington. He had extra eligibility left and he decided to get his name out there a little bit more instead of going out in the draft that year from Washington, which I think if he went out that year, he probably would have been a 3rd-round pick. Or how crazy QB crazy franchises are when they're desperate. Of course, he could have probably been the bottom of a 2nd round, the middle of the 2nd round pick if he would have went out that year straight from Washington. I feel like he has some traits that he showed, that, teams will want to pick up on. And, he decided to forego that. He decided to, skip going to the draft and come back for another year, get his name out there, get his name hot, and go to Miami, which is a good move and made sense. And now people are seeing what he could really do, and also his game got a little bit better. So it rolls year by year. So I think that's the reason why Cam Ward probably gets a little bit more hate out there, because his grind was real different. You hear somebody that was like a 1-star recruit coming out of high school, and then they had to start their first couple of years off at Incarnate Ward. You're gonna have a lot of questions, and most of the motherfuckers that's supposed to be the experts, and well, he ain't like other prospects. He ain't no J.J. McCarthy. If J.J. McCarthy was in this draft, he'd be the number 1 pick, and it's just like you can't really say that. But that's because of his grind there. You hear someone from Incarnate Ward, and then they go to Washington, or Washington State. I'm sorry, not Washington Huskies. You go to Washington State, where they usually have been known for an air raid system for mad long, and their quarterbacks don't really pan out and stuff. No one's going to really take them seriously. And then they go to Miami, who they never really had any, big QB prospects that's been drafted. And, it's probably going to be a little bit of hate out there. Also, the way that both of these dudes carry themselves off the field and on the field to some degree, it's a lot of people out there that just be hating and don't like that shit, especially when they getting their ass bust by them. So I think that's what that is about. Now, as far as the draft and where they could end up, from what it's sounding like, I don't know, it still sounds crazy to me, but it sounds like the Giants might really fuck around and take a chance on either of the dudes, but it sounds more likely than not, they're willing to take a chance on drafting Shadeur Sanders, which I feel like is crazy to me because we know that the Giants really don't draft and start certain kind of quarterbacks for whatever reason. We could get into that in at a whole other time and everything, or closer to when the draft comes, or even when the draft is over. So we see, the result of their pick if they end up not picking Shadeur. But it sounds like they would be willing to take a chance on him. Wouldn't be a bad look. He's got the personality in the game and the toughness, to have some success in the city, in New York City, and playing for a franchise like the Giants. But if not them, I think the Raiders, honestly, will be a good look. Everybody's been saying that for the longest time, for a while. I think it would be a good look and make the most sense. With his mentor there basically running the team, and Tom Brady. Pete Carroll is a player's coach, but still a coach that I think holds his players accountable to a certain degree. And he believes in his players to make plays. He likes playmakers, and he wants his players to be their authentic selves and really try to make plays there. So I think that would make the most sense and would be a good look for him there. And on top of that, you already got the Giants anyway. They're trying to, there's stories out there saying they're trying to trade for Matt Stafford anyway. Even though there's other stories saying that the Rams want to try and sign Stafford. All these stories, smoke screens, they throwing all type of bullshit in the way because everybody's trying to see how everything fall out with free agency and the draft and who could finesse who for some kind of deal or whatever. But the word is that the Giants want to trade for Stafford anyway. It sounds like they're looking for some kind of juice or some type of relevance or some shit. To be honest, it'd probably be a kind of a good look for the Giants as far as trying to be relevant. And like I said, get a little bit of juice. Maybe a bad look for Stafford. You're getting up there in age. The winters in New Jersey and in New York, man, they ain't kind to the body, man. You already have, injuries from your days in Detroit. You're up there in age. I'm not saying you can't be productive at all, but you know what I mean? It's tough up there in East Rutherford, man. That wind, that snow, all of that is different. So, I kind of got to question a little bit how he's going to perform when it gets to those points in the season and everything like that, especially with an offensive line that can be good and can be solid at times, but there's still questions on there as well. So I don't know about that. Now, following that, Cam going to Tennessee, if they smart, if the Titans are smart, I think that's too easy. I think he's going number one to the Tennessee Titans. They need a quarterback. Old boy over there who be eating all the mayo and drinking mayo and shit, he ain't it. He ain't it. Too many turnovers, too much reckless play, and too much silly-ass play, so that ain't going to work. It's too easy. You might as well just go ahead. With Cam Ward, you got to kind of rebuild anyway, but got some players in place, and you got a good GM in place and everything like that. Keep building the offensive line, keep building on the defense, keep getting him some weapons on the outside, and you got a dude that's a playmaker. He can make some plays. But if they don't, let's say, which is another story that's going out there, the Titans fuck around and take ABDUL Carter, then where's he go? Maybe the Browns? You want to go to the Browns there? So I don't know. And then this is where it comes into play where would the Giants still try and make a play of him? But I don't know. They might trade out of that pick and everything because the Giants fucking around. The way they moving, it seems like to me, just a little bit, it seems like they're trying to, low-key trying to position themselves for like Arch Manning in the next 2 years or some shit like that or something down the line. So who knows? But Cam Ward going to the Browns still a possibility, but there's also a story out there which, sounds real and sounds like it makes sense. With Kirk Cousins going to the Browns, it seems like a real Browns thing that they would fucking do. And signing a quarterback like Kirk Cousins or signing him and still drafting a quarterback and fucking up both their careers. So I wouldn't like to see Cam end up with the Browns. That wouldn't be a fun fit. Honestly, if he's going to be taken between 1 and 5, the best fit for me, I think, for him will be Tennessee. It's a good fit for both of them. It makes the most sense. it makes the most sense, and it's just too easy right there. You know, but the other thing too, with the way that those teams are moving at the top, all five of those teams at the top, could either Cam or Shadeur fall, you know what I mean, due to whatever type of plans these teams got for the future, who they want to pick instead. You know, could both of them fuck around and fall? Like, I don't see that happening, but crazier things have happened. This draft is kind of, with it just basically being two QBs that might go in the first. There's gonna be a third. There's gonna be somebody like Jackson Dart that's gonna go at the end of the first. I think they're starting to kind of fall in love with him, but we're gonna see what pro days and combines and shit like that. But I think Jackson Dart is one of them dudes that someone's gonna fall in love with and try and be their little pet project and make him something. He might fuck around and fall to the Rams with Sean McVay, and he'll try and make something out of him. If he ends up in a place where he has good coaching, he might be something decent or really good. But this draft kind of reminds me of the draft. I believe it was only two prospects teams were interested in. I think it was the draft, I believe, when Dwayne Haskins came out. If I'm correct, I'll check back to make sure I'm correct on that on another volume. But it reminds me of that. God rest Dwayne Haskins, but I think it was only two prospects, him and someone else. I can't quite remember. And then a draft way back in the day when it was Bird Emanuel out of Florida State. It was him and another quarterback. It was just them two, and they both really didn't pan out. I'm not saying that that's going to happen for Cam or Shadeur. I think those guys are going to have I think they're going to have long careers and relevant careers. I want to see them both be stars or superstars. We'll see. That's depending on where they fall, to be honest with you. Which organization they fall to, a good coaching or a good foundation. But other than that, I think they'll be good professionals in the league or have good careers. But it would be crazy to see if they ended up falling. Also with that, other fits that I feel like might make sense, Ashton Genty to Dallas, going to the Cowboys. They need a running back. I think that will provide some juice to them also, get the fans and get the team also a little bit excited and everything. He's a good prospect. I didn't really see him as a early first rounder like that. I seen him maybe late first round or maybe second round, between late first round or in between late first round and late second round type of pick. But it seems like the buzz is growing on him even more, that he could be worthy of being a first round pick overall. Good play though, you know what I mean? But Dallas, I think that would be a good fit for them. They should probably, if that opportunity happens for them, if he falls to them, I don't think it's really a fall. I don't see him as a top 10 prospect. Like I said, I see him more maybe in if he is a first rounder, somewhere in the 20s. But if you could get him where the Cowboys are at right now, you might as well go ahead and scoop him up and get shit rocking with him. And then we still got to also see a couple trades that could probably happen in the offseason that could shake up the draft, or, trades that happen during the draft as well. Another one to consider that I thought about as well, if they really want to get crazy, which I don't really see them doing, but I think will be a good fit to cause terror to all of their teams, especially in their division and other teams in the AFC. What if New England fucked around and got the dude T-Mac out of Arizona at receiver for Drake May? That would be crazy as hell. But then another thing, if they do what, New England franchise is usually known for, or if they fuck around and take the best offensive tackle on Will Campbell to protect him, because, Drake May was running for his life every time. Any highlight I seen out there, it looked like he was running around for his life or getting killed. So I think Will Campbell, that shit would be even crazier too, because you can keep building on the offensive line in later rounds, but in the early 3 rounds, you got the best offensive tackle on Will Campbell. And then second and third round, that's when you get your receivers. This draft is still deep at receiver. All these drafts for the next few years are going to be deep at receiver. You're always going to find one. Even if you find someone undrafted, somebody's going to be able to ball out there. So they're in a good, they got great options at where they're at with the number 4 slot. I think another cool fit would be Travis Hunter to the Jags. It seems like that would be a dope fit if he doesn't end up going number 1 to Tennessee. Because they might do that too. I think he's the only, I think him, maybe a little bit Will Campbell, Abdul Carter, and maybe a little bit the D tackle Mason Graham out of Michigan are the only generational talents in this draft. So I wouldn't put it past Titans probably fucking around and taking Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, number one. But Travis Hunter and Jacksonville, that'd be a dope look because they need a receiver and a cornerback, and they got young talent around there where he could probably try out both for the first couple years of his career and still contribute, and they still might fuck around and be a wild card team or something you got to look out for in the near future. So that would be cool. My last point on this, real quick before I wrap this one up, is Mason Graham, the defensive tackle I just brought up, who I believe, generational type talent in this draft. But here's my thing. Me personally, it's tough for me to really consider taking a defensive tackle in the top 5 picks every time. So here's my logic on that real quick. If you're a top 5 pick, that means that you're drafting high because you got a lot more holes to fill on your roster. There's a lot more issues on there. And me personally, as an owner or a GM and as a coach putting a team together and a roster together to start winning or start building for the future, I'm not willing to stake my whole franchise built around that on a defensive tackle, my top 3 or my top 5 pick. Not even really, if I'm really being dead ass, like not even my top 10 pick, because I think you could find great defensive tackles or good defensive tackles or the defensive tackle that's a starter and contribute in your system or in your scheme anywhere. You really fucking can. I mean, look at the Chris Joneses of the world. I think he was, a 4th round, 5th round pick or something like that. If I'm mistaken, maybe a 3rd. Look at him. He's an all-pro, probably on his way to being a Hall of Famer. Not probably, most likely, with 3 championships. You got motherfuckers on Detroit like Aleem McNeil. I don't even know where he was drafted. I know good and damn well it wasn't even the first round. It wasn't in the first 10 picks. I know that shit. And then when you kind of look around through history and in the league, most of them dudes that was probably top 5 picks or whatever at defensive tackle, they didn't contribute to getting mad Super Bowls and shit. The dude as of recently, I think he was in the top 10 is Jalen Carter, and he would have been a number 1 pick overall. You know what I mean? But stuff like that happens every once in a while. Like a Aaron Donald, I believe he was the 12th or the 13th pick. Not no top 3 or top 5 though. But and I could be really, really wrong on this one with Mason Graham, but I just think that those teams in the top 5 there, I don't think they need to get too crazy, or they're in a position to get too crazy. We're like, everything else is really set. We just need this D tackle right here, and we'll build around that. I don't know about that, but like I said, I could be wrong. Shit is gonna get crazy in the NFL all season. It's gonna get crazy, especially in the draft and after, of course, free agency and trades and stuff. So we're gonna see. Just a quick little tiny preview of it, and of course, there's gonna be more to talk about with that coming up. But for right now, it's gonna wrap this one up for Welcome to the Franchise. Y'all out there, be easy.